Hello, welcome to the second part of why robots. So we decided on the GA or gear robots. The next thing to do was to work out where we are going to put them. So the first thing was to work out where to put the robots. So we got an old building down behind me over there, and that was the original dairy barn. So there's a silage pit in there, there's cubicles in there, and then that's where the parlour was. Unfortunately, when that was built on a slope, so for cow health and moving cattle around, it was never ideal. It was always moving up and down sloping concrete. So in 2012, we put up this shed, which was originally a loose housing to take the pressure off the older cubicles that we had. And then over the subsequent years, we changed this then into cubicle housing. So we were then looking at, so where are we now? 3 years ago, it was a case of deciding where we're going to put, where we could fit the robots in, and what we were going to do with them. So, just two heifers bulling. Well, look at it. So the ideal thing, because our farm is, for some strange reason, is built on the side of a slope. So level ground isn't something we have a huge amount of, other than the ground that floods. So that's not an option for putting up cow sheds on. So we decided to go for trying to get them into the cubicle shed, all the cows on one level under one roof for the majority of the time. And so to explore then how we could make it fit into this shed. We started off with, I think it's 8 bays with the cubicles in here. So this is the more regional part of the shed. And then there's an open yard at the end between the two buildings, between the old buildings and the new buildings. So what we decided was we'd stick another 2 bays on the end of this shed. I'll stick some videos in here of what it looked like before. Sticking the other 2 bays on here. First bay we would put 2 robots in the pit, with and then in the breeze block building there would be all the auxiliary stuff, so computers, all the service units, milk lines and everything for the robots. And then we've got a passageway down the other side, which we can get through. And then it was a case of deciding the orientation of the robots. So what we decided on was having access from the yard into the 2 robots from the yard, from the cubicles. So you've got free access, 1, 2 robots, and then they'll come out of the robots and they come along this race. And that meant once they came to here, which is the first sorting gate, we would then, if we wanted to graze with them, we'd have to do a fair bit of work outside. So we had to dig out all the backside of the shed. So originally, when the shed was put up, the earth was back to here. We didn't dig any further out, so we had to dig all this out at the back here, so that we could put the extra run on the race. So at the moment it's footbath. You just see that cow cup go out there now. So she goes through there and back into the barn and the cubicles. So we've got a footbath here now, out into this race area. I mean, it looks like a lot of metalwork at the moment, because it is. But essentially, it's a 3-way sorting gate. So you go straight on. They'll go that way then, along that track to grazing, or to segregate them left, which brings them back into this holding area, back through there, through these non-return gates, back into the cubicle shed, or right-handed, and then we put in dedicated cow tracks. So this track then is just for the cows, and that goes down for grazing.
Bridled, trained to be tame, nature gave a new name, source to nurture the world, ready, sing a new tune, weight of it all won't get me down.
So in terms of the install process, we got these extra 2 bays put on here. So we broke ground then, started making changes to the original layout. 3 years in January. So then the groundwork and doing all the concrete in and putting the pits and everything in and drainage in took 2 or 3 months. And then the actual robot install, putting the robots in, which I'll drop in videos. That started sort of first week in September, and then the robots were actually up and running then by the end of November. So this is just the other side of the race. So this passageway here is for segregation cows. So if they come to this first sort of gate, they can be separated up here. And then we've got some AI stalls, just segregation holding pen here, and then from here we can either move them down to other areas for vet visits, AI. If they've freshly calved, we've got a pen in the back there where they'll stay for a couple of days. And we just have to move them to the robots then, and they're segregated round and then put back in there so we can keep a closer eye on them. And then we've got these loose housing pens, which are the original cubicle area was in here, but we've now got dry cow loose housing in here. So if anything calves, it can come straight back up into the pen up here, and that's how that works. So now looking at the bulk tank, so this was the original bulk tank that we had, which has then been retrofitted with and installed a little smaller holding tank. So when the main tank's been washed, the milk goes into that tank, and then it's pumped, was drained into the main tank. Then when it's been washed out after milk collection, so we had to, because we've got quite a small yard, and everything's quite tight. We had to keep the bulk tank where it was. It was going to be the simplest thing. So parlour and everything was just through that door. So this is where the milk comes to, and is collected from. And the beauty of robots is you only need really small milk lines because you haven't got a huge amount of milk coming through at one time. So those are the milk lines there that run all the way down from the robots. So this used to be one open yard. We put 2 extra bays on, and then we've got the milk lines running overhead down through the old shed down to the milk tank. But yeah, so that post there is where the original shed ended. We put extra 2 bays on, and I'll show you what it looked like before. Put these up. But the actual footprint of the robots is really small. It all fits into that 1 bay there. So you've got the robots and plant room. That's all contained in that one small area, which was another plus point of going with the GEA's gear robots. So we could fit them into quite a small space, because we haven't got a huge amount of space. around the farm. We had about 12 months sort of planning and working out where we're going to put the robots, and then there was a lot of stuff was sort of adjusted and edited as we went along. Because once we came to actually putting it in, or actually putting it there, wasn't going to be the best place. Once you see it on the ground, it always looks a bit different to how you sort of saw it in mind. Um, so if you are planning on putting robots or anything in, I'd urge you to have a look at as many different designs as you can. Go and visit a load of different farms and just pluck the ideas off every farm. Because there's no set way of doing stuff, um, and everyone will have something which they might want to tweak um, after they've done it. But another key thing we did was put slats in front of the robots, so all this slatted area runs off through a channel down into our slurry store, down to the separator, so that any muck or anything that's washed, any muck or anything that's washed off the robot runs into them slats. All the robots drain into the slats. They're washing. Channel under my feet there now. This all into the separator and all stored, and then spread back on the fields when we can. So yeah, that's just a little bit about the design and how we came up with what we've got so far. I'll show you a bit of the install stuff, and then I suppose I'll do another video then of startup in the first sort of 12 months and where we are at, where we're at with it now. Where we're with it now. I'm going to look at how we're getting on with it now, 2 years on. Yeah, top job.